Something's off with the Ravens, and with each game it becomes harder to pretend it's nothing. The offense lost its edge. Lamar looks physically limited, and the players who were supposed to hold things together just aren't delivering. It's the kind of situation where you watch and think, hold on, something isn't adding up here. And that feeling only gets stronger when you look at the moment of the season where all of this is happening. And that's exactly where the real concern kicks in, because there's no more room for slip-ups. The issues that popped up over the last few weeks left a massive warning sign hanging over this team, and there's a clear reason why. There's one specific part of this story, the mix of drop-offs, injuries, and instability. That puts Baltimore in a much more delicate position than it looks. And that's what becomes impossible to ignore right now. When the season started, a lot of people expected the Ravens' offense to look faster, lighter, and full of answers. But little by little, that spark faded. Plays that use the flow now feel stuck, like the whole unit is trying to run into heavy wind. It's that moment when everyone sees what should be happening, but nothing really fits together. That discomfort became a weekly theme as the games went by. The receiving group didn't take the step forward everyone expected. Nobody emerged as a steady, go-to-target who solves problems when things tighten up. Derrick Henry is still producing, but not with the same steady force that defined his career. Some games he explodes, others he looks trapped in defensive traffic. And that inconsistency hits even harder when the rest of the offense isn't picking up the slack. The offensive line, the quiet engine that's supposed to keep everything stable, turned into a weak spot, especially on the inside, where inconsistency became a regular guest. Without solid protection, the quarterback loses time, and the run game loses space. All those small mistakes stack together, creating a domino effect that knocks down every bigger plan. It's like trying to build something big on top of a shaky foundation. And that's why the warning signs started flashing brighter. It's not panic, but it's impossible to pretend the offense didn't take several steps backward. And when that happens at this point in the season, everything gets heavier. Now, the real question is how all of this connects to the next issue, Lamar Jackson's physical condition, the one thing that shapes everything Baltimore can or can't do on offense. Over the last few weeks, it's been impossible to watch the Ravens without thinking about Lamar Jackson's health. He's been dealing with small injuries here and there, like someone trying to push through even when the body's begging for a breather. First, it was a quad issue, then some other discomforts, and now this toe problem that has everyone watching every step he takes. When your quarterback isn't whole, your entire offense isn't whole, and the games already show that. The way Lamar moves is a heartbeat of everything this offense does. When he's healthy, everything looks alive. The runs open lanes, the passes flow, and defenses panic. But when he's hurt, that explosive part of the offense disappears. Things become basic, predictable, easier to stop. And it's not just on him. Nobody plays at their best when they're stacking injuries in such a short stretch. The concern now is how far he can go playing like this. There are only a few games left, and each one carries the weight of a season on the line. When your best player is clearly limited, the entire team loses confidence, loses rhythm, loses a spark that usually turns complicated games into tight wins. And that puts even more pressure on every other piece of the offense, pieces that weren't performing well to begin with, and the chain reaction doesn't stop there. If Lamar's health already raises alarms, the next topic shows how Derrick Henry's up-and-down season makes this offense even more vulnerable at a time when he should be helping carry the load. Derrick Henry is still a massive name in the NFL, but this season gave us a version of him that fluctuates more than ever. One game he breaks everything open with 100-plus yards. The next he struggles to hit 70. That inconsistency completely disrupts the offense's rhythm. When the run game doesn't threaten, defenses can spread out and squeeze even more space out of the passing game. And the truth is, Henry has always been the tone setter, the player who gives the offense its physical personality. When he's dominating, the whole unit looks more confident, more connected, more dangerous. But on the days where he can't find space, the team loses one of the few pillars still working in the middle of all the dysfunction. That up-and-down pattern keeps Baltimore stuck in a loop that makes it impossible to build any real momentum. Part of that problem goes back to the offensive line, which hasn't opened the same lanes we saw in past seasons. Henry hasn't lost his power, but without clean gaps, even he gets stuck in short yardage situations. And when the offense needs big plays that never show up, everything becomes slower, more predictable, easier to shut down. It's the combination of all of this that keeps the offense spinning in circles. And that inconsistency creates an obvious problem. When a run game doesn't scare anyone, the team needs the receivers to step up. And that takes us straight into the next point, where the lack of growth in the wide receiver group leave the offense even weaker.
All right, we're already past the halfway point of this video, but before we continue, I noticed you haven't left a like yet. It's really important because it helps YouTube keep showing you my content so I can keep bringing you the best news about the Baltimore Ravens. So go ahead and hit that like button. It's free and it really helps. Thanks. Now let's get back to it.
The Ravens receiving group is going through a rough stretch. Zay Flowers, who many expected to step into a true WR1 role, hasn't been able to carry that weight alone. At times, he looks more like a natural number 2 than the leader of the room. Rashad Bateman, who was supposed to be the perfect complement, regressed badly and left a tough hole to fill. DeAndre Hopkins, even with his legendary resume, also hasn't delivered the kind of impact he once did. He hasn't vanished, but the 2025 version of him isn't the same force that dominated in Houston. Without a truly dominant target, Lamar is left with receivers who struggle to create separation when contested catches and turn routine plays into big gains. That caps the ceiling of the entire offense. And the offensive line, the unit that should be the silent foundation, is fighting its own battle. Progress has been slow, full of highs and lows, especially on the inside. When your guards aren't reliable, the run game loses efficiency and protection breaks down at the worst moments. Jackson is already dealing with enough physically. Constant quick pressure only makes everything heavier for an offense already struggling. All those issues stacked together make every drive feel harder than it should be. And that's why the final topic becomes so important. The end of the season doesn't wait for anyone, and the Ravens are stuck between what they can still save and what might already be slipping away. Reaching the final stretch of the season with this many problems makes everything more tense. The Ravens are still in the playoff race, but the loss of the Bengals showed how tiny the margin for error is. Every game becomes a decision now. It doesn't matter that the team started 1-5 and rallied. At this stage, the only thing that matters is winning. Winning consistently, something they haven't shown yet. Expectations for 2025 were massive. The conversations were about the Super Bowl, not just making the playoffs. But watching what the team showed against Cincinnati, it's hard to see that dominant group people imagined months ago. It's not a total collapse, but it's a clear sign that something deeper isn't right. The team has talent, important pieces, but nothing is coming together at the moment when it matters most. The defense continues to be the strong point, holding games together and giving the offense every chance to win. But when the offense doesn't match that level, the bill comes due quickly. The fear now isn't about the distant future. It's about losing the immediate opportunity to make noise in January. The team still has a path, but every obstacle feels bigger than it should at this stage of the year. And that's the picture. A season that might still end in the playoffs, but one that exposes flaws that can't be ignored anymore. Now, the only question is how far this team can go before the clock runs out, and how much this final stretch will influence everything that comes next. In the end, everything we've seen makes it clear the Ravens are in a defining moment. The offense lost stability. Lamar isn't at his physical best. Henry is inconsistent. The receivers aren't stepping up, and the offensive line still hasn't found its footing. It's the combination of all of that, right at the end of the season, that explains why concern has grown so much in Baltimore. The talent is still there, but this is the point of the year where talent alone isn't enough. The team needs answers now. So here's the real question. With everything on the table, do you think the Ravens can turn this around in time? Because if that turnaround is coming, it needs to show up now. No waiting, no rehearsals, no extra chances. This is the moment where a team reveals who it really is, and Baltimore is about to write a chapter that could define their entire season.
And if you, just like me, are passionate about the world of football and want to learn more about the Ravens' legacy, don't leave this video without sharing it with that friend who is also a Baltimore Ravens fan and will love this content. See those video suggestions on your screen? The first one was handpicked just for you, and the other is a recommendation from YouTube itself.